Hello, it's rather a quick video where we talk about how we boost our memory. So do enjoy and most importantly share so that you will also profit in return. Okay, now when we learn a new subject or when we study a subject, the first thing you got to realize is it's all to do with your mental faculties, your cognitive abilities. So learning about how to improve or how to exercise your mental faculties is the first key here. Okay, that should be a basic understanding. So let's talk about it. When you are gonna face an exam, there is a memory component to it, right? And there is also a critical thinking component to it. Today let's see what are the strategies which can be used to improve your memory component. Okay, now we know general stuff like staying organized, having enough water, having good food, not being sleep deprived would definitely aid in your memory process. Okay, but rather let's look at specific strategies. Okay, now without further ado, let's talk about the strategies. The first strategy I'd like to talk about is space repetition. The first strategy is space repetition. Space repetition. I'd like to ask you, how many of us have heard about Hermann Ebbinghaus forgetting curve? Hermann Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. You can search about it. Okay. Now this graph, the curve depicts what happens behind the scenes. Okay, it says people tend to have their memory on a newly learned knowledge in a matter of days or weeks unless we review the learned material. People tend to have their memory in a matter of days or weeks unless we review the newly learned material. Okay, now what we got to do here is how we can come about this situation is to revise, reset in the curve. What researchers have proven is that what you need to do is to study or to learn something in spaced intervals. In spaced intervals. I know a lot of us, we are last moment creatures. We try to cram it up all night thinking that we'll ace the paper the next day. But what I want you to realize is sometimes we might up is in the paper, but it's a different story, okay? Because that shouldn't be our only goal, okay? Because whatever the knowledge we get inside our head, if we try in one day, the memory of it is very short term. You will forget it even before a week, in a matter of days. But because, and if we are to also forget it in a week's time, what is the purpose of us going there? Education is rather a process. Okay, it is not you, it's not like you complete one stage and you're done. No, you there are unlimited number of stages you can go in life. Okay, when you, it's one stage to another. Okay, so that's why it has to be a continual process, and also the knowledge you get at one stage, it will be really helpful for you during the second stage. Then what you need to also, the work amount, the workload you need to do in the second stage is will be comparatively low. Then that's why you have to carry the knowledge what you get out from the first stage. And then if at the end of first stage, at the exams, if you cramp it up all night, and if you go for the exams and somehow manage yourself to get to the second stage, it will not be really helpful for you in the long run. And it is also proven that the best intervals would be first repetition. First time you do after one day. Okay, after one day. And the second recap you do after 7 days. Third recap you do it after 16 days. Fourth recap you do it after 35 days. These these are the optimized days according to research. First recap, you do it after a day, and the second time you do it after 7 days. That's almost a week. The third recap, you do it after 16 days. That's almost 2 weeks. And the fourth recap, you do it after almost a month. And those are the optimized days. Okay, so try to adapt this when you do your studies, which will also help you in the long run. Second strategy I'd like to talk about is chunking. How many of us have heard about chunking? Chunking is when you break something into small parts. Okay, you have a huge syllabus. Now you are not gonna cram the whole syllabus up in one go. Okay, you break it into pieces, break it into parts in an organized manner. If you have 12 lessons to study, okay, you got 3 lessons here, 3 lessons there, and another 3 lessons here, and another 3 lessons there. You can break into parts in an organized way. So you categorize them. Basically breaking down a whole huge syllabus into small parts also. Now for example, if you have a phone number to remember, maybe sometimes, okay, a phone number usually includes 10 numbers now. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, 10 numbers. What do you usually do to easily remember the phone number? You break it into parts, just in the same way. Okay, you can break it into parts like this. Okay, parts like this. So see, I'll just write a random number: 0762163400400x. Okay, this number is very easy to remember. If you rather write in the whole number at a stretch, you break it into small parts, and this is much easier to remember. The next strategy I'd like to talk about is what we call mnemonics. Mnemonics can be a rhyme, or it can be acronym, or it can be a short sentences where you make it easy for to remember something. For examples, you can say, let me write this: Dear King Philip, come over for good soup. Look at the starting letters. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Just see how easy it was to remember the categorization. Dear King Philip, come over for good soup. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Mnemonics can be used for your studies. Now the fourth strategy I'd like to talk about is mind mapping. How many of you have heard about mind palaces? Here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna visualize what you need to remember, And when you visualize something, there is a higher tendency for you to recall it. Okay, let me make it more clearer to you. Now, you're not gonna just visualize here. When it comes to mind mapping, it's not just the visualization you do alone. No, it's also you visualize something and you link it with pre-existing knowledge, with something you already got inside your head. Okay, let's assume for this you got to choose a place, a familiar place to you, maybe your house, maybe your home, or the school, or the place of work. All right, what we are going to do now here is assume you have a key, a very important key for you to remember where you'll keep it. Okay, to get the key back you got to definitely remember where it was kept, right? So how would you do that? There's a piano at your place, and no, even in your sleep you can just get to where your piano is. You go right, you turn left, and then walk 3 steps ahead, and you know there towards the right hand, you know there's a piano. Just in the same way, decide or choose a place which is very familiar. If I want to really remember the place where the key is kept, I'll rather choose the piano and I'll visualize it in my head, and I'm gonna place the key on top of the piano, and the memory where the piano is already registered. It is very accessible. The neuronal pathway which leads to where that memory is very accessible. So the moment I try to think of where's the key, where did I keep it, when I try to think of it, the first thing which will crop into my head will be the piano. Why? Now that is linked. The piano, the memory is linked with the key. So the piano will pop up to my head, and no sooner the piano pops up in my head, I'll visualize it in my head. The key is also kept on top of the piano, and just like that I can easily remember where the key was. What we did there was we linked it to pre-existing knowledge. We linked it to a place or a location to help us to recall. Okay, now do you get this concept? Creating mind maps. The strategy we are going to talk next is something called active recalling. Active recalling. When you are studying, don't set a particular date and hope that you will cram everything up in one go and you're gonna study everything and it's gonna stick in your head absolutely in a brilliant way. No, don't go there. Okay, because I'm telling you, trust me, it's not. The memory of it wouldn't last long. It's not like once you study and done and dusted. No, you also got to actively recall. Okay, actively recalling is more of a self-assessment you do. The information you learned or the information you gained in of here and there while even traveling, you can actively recall it. Okay, do I recall it? Do I remember that? Even when you're walking, even when you're climbing up the stairs, maybe any sort of a situation, you can just actively see whether you have the capacity to recall. And more you try to recall something, the more that information will be familiar to you. Rather the neuronal pathway will be very familiar, so it will be easily accessible when you need it the most. That's what you call active recalling. Okay, next strategy I'd like to talk about is elaborative rehearsal. Elaborative rehearsal is more of you explaining something. Alright, how many of us have heard about this old saying? Learn, it's one of my favorite phrases, one which impacted me a lot. Learn to teach and teach to learn. Yes, that's right. Learn to teach and teach to learn. The best way you can learn something is by teaching another person. Always you're going to learn something to an extent where you get the capacity to teach someone else. That's where you'll fully understand. Teaching others will also profit you. You can live on that satisfaction. A person shouldn't necessarily be there. You can even teach the wall. Now let me do a quick recap on the strategies we covered. We started with spaced repetition and we went on talking about chunking and using mnemonics and also making mind maps and active recalling and elaborative rehearsal. Okay, so further, I'll also talk about other strategies. These 6 techniques will boost you and will carry you a long way. If you did enjoy the video, hit a thumbs up, also share it with someone else. See you soon.